Good afternoon and a warm welcome to King's Heath Church's Divine Service. I hope you are all well. Our service today will start with an opening prayer from Liz Wellham Daly, followed by a reading by myself, philosophy from Alia Khan, and then a closing prayer from Julie Shaw.
Hello everyone, please join me in prayer. Divine Spirit, as we come together and feel the strength of your love, we ask that you hold us in your ever-loving eternal light, so that we may be comforted in these uncertain times. We pray for strength and stamina while we adapt to this new way of life. As we send our healing thoughts to all who need extra support at this time, we give thanks to the doctors, the nurses, and all the employees of the NHS who are working tirelessly to save lives. We thank all carers, key workers, and each other for the support shown in our communities. As nature rests, we send hope for the earth and its animals to flourish. When we reflect on our lives, please give us the fortitude to make positive changes. God, we ask for your input in the decisions of those with enough influence to make the changes that are needed in this world. Help us all to nurture your love, in which we are always surrounded, so we may radiate your light throughout our lives. Amen.
Today's reading is The Cracked Pot. A water bearer had two large pots, one hung on each end of a pole. One of the pots had a crack in it, while the other pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water at the end of a long walk from the stream. The cracked pot arrived only half full. For 2 years this went on daily. The perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, but the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection and miserable it could only accomplish half of what it was made to do. One day the pot spoke to the bearer. "I'm ashamed of myself, and I want to apologise to you." "Why?" asked the bearer. "Because of my flaws you do all of the work and don't get full value for your efforts," the pot said. The bearer felt sorry for the cracked pot, and in her compassion she said, "As we return, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path." Indeed, as they went up the hill, the old cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wild flowers on the side of the path, and this cheered the pot some, but still felt it had again leaked half its water, so it apologised again for its failure. The bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path? That's because I have always known of your flaws, and took advantage of it, and planted seeds on your side of the path, and every day as we have walked back you have watered them. For 2 years I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate my mistress's table. Without you being the way you are, she would not have had this beauty to grace her house." Each of us has our own unique flaws. We are all cracked pots. But it's the cracks and flaws we have that makes our lives together interesting and rewarding. We have got to take each person for what they are and look for the good in them. In these troubled times, I think we have all seen our strengths and flaws, but even the smallest act of kindness makes a world of difference to someone. I hope you enjoyed our reading, and I hope you enjoy the rest of our service.
Thank you to the chair. Thank you for the prayer and for the reading. My name is Elia, and I will be doing the philosophy for today. And I'd like to start with a quote from Meister Eckhart. "If the only prayer you said was thank you, that would be enough." It's easy to feel grateful when life is good, but when disaster strikes, we can really struggle to find something to be grateful for. Now, studies show that people who are grateful for what they have are 25% more likely to be happier than those who are not. But why would you feel grateful if you'd lost your job, or you couldn't pay the rent, or you couldn't put food on the table? What I would argue is that feeling gratitude in those times will help you cope. Every Thursday we go out and we stand in our doorways, our driveways, we bang our bins, we clap our hands and we whistle, celebrating the NHS. Why do we do those things? It's because we need to feel grateful to enable us to cope. In the face of demoralization, gratitude can give you the power to energize. In the face of brokenness, gratitude can give you the power to heal. In the face of this pandemic, gratitude can give you the power to cope. Now, I'm not saying gratitude is easy, and I'm certainly not saying that it's natural or it comes naturally. But one thing that is vital is that you should know the difference between feeling grateful and being grateful. Feeling grateful comes from an emotion, and usually we are not in control of our emotions. Telling someone that they should feel grateful, or they should feel happy, or they should feel less depressed is just not how it works. Our feelings come from how we perceive the world around us and our thought of where we think we are or where we think we should be, and it's the gap between it. Being grateful is a choice. Now, if it's a choice, that means we can teach it and we can practice it. It's a prevailing attitude that has endured, and it is resistant to change. Now, change is something that we usually causes suffering. It's because we attach ourselves to something. If we have a car, a house, a good job, and had the love of people around us, and we lose those things, we start to feel a sense of loss and feelings of dejection. And also we might think, well, where do I fit now in the world? I've lost all these things. Where do I fit? The only reason we feel this dejection is because we have attached too much value to those things. Sometimes we might even believe that our identity comes from our job, that I have to be a doctor, I have to be a lawyer. Or you might think that if without the big house, without the big car, my status goes. Now, these things that we've all become attached to, and we can attach to people and to love, and this is where it becomes quite complicated, in that when we lose a loved one, we create this void within ourselves. It just appears, and we reject change because we associate it with what we've lost, and that's when we start suffering. The suffering comes because we're attached to the person that we've lost, and the attachment comes because we don't understand or we won't accept that the gains and the losses of the flow of life, we're just not going with the flow of life, that everything in this life is only temporary. Nothing is permanent. Nothing will be permanent in this world at all. We are here to experience it to the fullest, but not to embrace it and to hold on to it and hold on for it forever. The fourth principle for spiritualism is the continuous existence of the human soul. Now, spiritualists believe that our souls or spirits exist eternally. They exist eternally. They take different forms because change is inevitable, but it's always there. A discarnate soul is a soul that is not on the earth plane. It's not been born. It's not here. It's in the spirit world. Discarnate soul will choose the lesson it wants to learn. And to learn that lesson, it has to be born an incarnate soul on this planet, on this earth. And then take back what it's learned, this lesson, and move on. Now, a medium gave me an excellent an analogy to this, and I like this analogy because it's quite simple to understand. Imagine that you're getting into a car. You've been given the choice of any car that you want to get into. You're going to have to remain in the car because that's the car that you'll be taking the journey of life in. You cannot stay on this earthly plane without the car basically being our bodies. You get in, you are the passenger, you're not the driver. Some drivers don't even know that you're there. Other drivers might sense that you're there. Other drivers might stop and pause and try and feel you. And then there are those drivers who have full-blown conversations with you. The driver is your brain, your mind, your thoughts. It is you, the material you. And how you communicate with yourself with your spirit is interesting, because I believe, and you can disregard this if you don't believe, you don't have to accept everything that I say, but I believe when spirit is incarnate, all memory of why or which lessons they chose has been wiped. Because if we knew what lessons we were here to learn, we would just simply go ahead, learn them, and go back really quickly. So what I believe happens is that we don't know what our lesson is, and the whole point is that we find out, that the journey is to find out. And when we pass away, the vehicle stops and spirit can exit, and spirit continually exists. It is our belief and our attachment to our physical and the material that makes us think, or some people think, that we are just what we are now here. And that's why loss, or the loss of a loved one, can be so painful, because we're attached to the physical and we're not remembering that this person is actually spirit first. And that's one thing I should say, is that we are spirit wearing a coat of a human body. We are not the human who happens to have a spirit. I'd like to wrap up really with I'd like to say is remembering our loved ones is really important. It deepens our gratitude. We, in fact, as a collective, what we tend to do is we have a whole day to remember, Remembrance Day, VE Day. Why do we have these days? Well, one of the reasons is so we don't take things for granted. Now, when I first purchased my property, there is a sycamore tree at the bottom of my garden, and this tree had expanded out both sides into their neighbours' gardens, and I was thinking, right, this tree needs to be cut down. And in my head, I imagined myself with this chainsaw hacking this tree down. When my neighbour, who was in her 80s at the time, and I must say, just for the sake of completeness, that since she has passed, and she passed at 101 years old, she told me that after the Second World War, my house had been actually bombed during the Second World War. After the Second World War, they had rebuilt a set of 4 homes, and the original owner had planted the sycamore tree in remembrance of people that he had lost. Now, when she told me this, I felt so humbled that my imaginary chainsaw, I just put it down and kicked it to one side as if she wouldn't, not that she could see it, but I suddenly understood. Gratitude, it reminds you of what you have, not what you have lost. And I know there are many people who have lost their lives in this pandemic. I don't want to say anything that would upset them. What I believe is that had it not been for the choice that they made, the life lessons that they wanted to learn, and the life lessons they wanted to teach us, that we should really look at them through a lens of gratitude and understand that we are not pushing aside the sorrow and the heartache that we feel, that you are entitled to feel. What I'm trying to say is that we should understand and realize that they are trying to show us that we need to reevaluate what we value in this world, that they are trying to show us that the opportunity that we have, an opportunity to transform what is negative into a positive, and they have given us that opportunity, and we really should be grateful, and I am eternally grateful to all those people who have suffered and who have lost their lives. And I hope that we can come out of this and we do take heed with what Spirit World are showing us, and that we do learn from this. So I'd like to thank you for listening to me.
Father, Mother God, Great Spirit, we thank you for the lessons that we are learning, for the communication and the love, and knowing that the spirit world are still around us. We're still sending our thoughts of healing around the world to where they're needed most. But we thank you for what we have, for our food and for our shelter, even for the connection of our friends, even though it is through other means these days. We thank you for everything. And we send our thoughts to those people who have lost loved ones and who are suffering themselves. We leave ourselves within your care and keeping until we are together again, and we know that that great day will come. Amen.
Thank you all for watching our service today. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you all stay safe and well, and we'll see you again soon. Many thanks.